Welcome to the Indie Corner, where we talk about all things independent comics. I'm Mikey.
I'm Christian.
I'm Matt.
And today, people, we're going to do another one and done story because everyone seemed to love Witches so much. We did the Halloween special. So, yeah, today we're going to be discussing a book that I wanted to read for a very long time now, ever since Comic Pop talked about it. We are going to talk about the book God Country by Donny Cates, written by Donny Cates with art by Geoff Shaw. Donny Cates, if y'all don't know, has been he's been like the Jeff Johns or like the Scott Snyder of Marvel essentially, because he's been doing stuff like he's done books like Doctor Strange, Venom, Guardians of the Galaxy, created Cosmic Ghost Rider, Thanos, and did indie books like for Image, like besides this one called Redneck and like one called Buzkill and like the Paybacks. Jeffrey Shaw also has been doing. He's like has a thing with it. He does like with Kate that like Jock does with Jock. What like Scott Snyder does with Jock, where like they always do books with each other. So he's also done like he's also did like Cosmic Ghost Rider and like Thanos and like all the independent stuff he's done. But we're gonna talk about this one because this one's I heard is really fucking good. And yeah, and it's dope stuff. And I have the physical copy because I bought this at our local comic book store, the Swap. And I just love in the first page he literally like dedicates this book to his father, because this entire book is essentially about the relationship between a father and a son and how that works with some fantasy elements spilled in, essentially. So yeah, we're just gonna get into it. You want to talk about issue Uno, please?
Yeah, let's talk about God Country #1. So, God Country opens up in this little house, so seemingly in the middle of nowhere in Texas, and this is the Quinlan home. This is home to an old man named Emmet and his son and his son's wife and his granddaughter.
Yeah, his son's name is Roy, his daughter's name is Dina, and his wife's name is Joy.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, no, yeah. It's like Joyanne, but he just calls her Joy, the wife.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the story opens up with Roy coming home. His dad has had some sort of an episode. His dad has Alzheimer's, and it's not going so well, as you know it tends to. There's a cop at his house, and he says that one of his boys had to draw his gun on him because I guess he had gotten violent. And then Emmet shows up, and he's screaming at everyone to get the fuck out of his house. And he's trying to find Elizabeth, who I think is his, at this point, deceased wife, right?
Yeah, it's his wife that passed away.
Yes. So he is screaming everyone to get out of his goddamn house. And Dina comes in, and there's this page that is absolutely haunting, where Emmet's coming down the stairs and he's screaming, "I'll kill you, I'll kill you." And Dina looks absolutely traumatized. And this it's a really, exactly that page. It's so it's so heart-wrenching. And I think I am lucky enough to never have had a family member in my own life with Alzheimer's. So as someone who hasn't had to go through this feels really raw and real. And I'd imagine it would be even more so to somebody who has experienced this themselves. It's incredible.
Yeah, because Alzheimer's is just like the disease that like the elderly hope to not get, because not only are you like degrading mentally but also physically. So it's like it's a breakdown of like the mind and the body, and it's difficult, especially with their loved ones. So
yeah. So Janie takes Dina, and they're going to leave because she's like, I can't stay here with him another night. And it's raining, it's pouring out, but they can't do this anymore. And Roy is pleading with them to stay, and they're pleading with him to go. and it's this. It's I feel like I'm gonna be saying this throughout this entire video, but it's so real.
Yeah, of course.
The way Cates writes these characters and their interactions and their dialogue, it's very visceral. And I know Mikey's going to talk more about the art a little bit later, but it is gorgeous throughout.
Art's stunning. Okay.
But as they're leaving, a magic tornado appears. And I describe it like that because it's green and there's lightning. It's very clearly not a normal tornado.
Yeah.
And it gets the dogs all running, and it crashes into the house and entirely destroys it, seemingly killing Emmet. So Danny and Dina come back to the house that they had just left, and Dina gets out of the car, and this demon comes after her. It's black, it has these tendrils coming off of it. It's
very scary.
Really scary. And it almost grabs Dina when there's this explosion. And I'm not sure if Mikey grabbed this splash page.
Of course I did.
Of course he did. It says Emmet Quinlan was a god, and this old man has this giant sword that he drives through the demon and explodes it. And it is so epic. This is just so cool.
And I just want to say real quick, like for our audience, this book is being told like through like in third person through a narrator, who essentially described the story as like, it's a story that's been passed down to like to like numerous families and stuff for generations and stuff. And I love that like that narrative structure. I was telling Christian earlier that like it makes it feel more as if like give that myth type of feel to it with that type of storytelling. And
it feels very mythological.
And there's some like really good like lines in this book, especially like when he's described as like, oh yeah, like Emmet like was described when he was younger, like his son wasn't really that much of a fighter, but Emmet was described as a god, and you should see this shit, and it's like, okay, like whoa there, yeah.
And so now that Emmet has this sword, which the narrator tells us is named Valifax. Now that Emmet has Valifax, he remembers. I guess it's sort of. I think the understanding is that it's sort of he remembers up until he got Alzheimer's, because he remembers Roy, but he does not remember Dina.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, it was up until he got Alzheimer's is as much as he remembers.
Yeah, and so then Dina calls him Grandpa, and he goes, "Did you say Grandpa?" And and she runs up to hug him, and it's so sweet.
So sweet.
It's just a heartwarming moment of this little girl who has been watching her grandfather disappear before her eyes, and now he's back
and like lose himself, especially like with Roy, like having to take the responsibility of like taking care of his dad when his wife is on the upside, being like, we could just put him, especially the sheriff who comes in the beginning wants to like say like we need to put him in a home, he's being a lot more unstable, but he's like, nah, I just want to take care of my dad. Like they moved from Austin to it's like what was it, like West Texas, to take care of his dad and the struggle with that, and it's just so real. It's just so it's so good.
Yeah. And then we go into outer space, because of course we do, and last page reveal is this god who wants Halifax back, and he looks amazing. We're gonna learn a little bit more about this guy in issue 2. But at the end of this first issue, I mean, this hooked me immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know how many any books I can say that about, but for this, I was in on page 1. Like, this is so good.
Do you guys know?
Yes, I have thoughts about God Country #1.
Do you guys know like what exactly it was that got you? like, do you think you could pinpoint what it was?
Or like
That was
narrative
like,
wise, you mean?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. I mean, I really did like like the moment where like obviously like the big splash page where like he defeats the demon and then like remembers who he is, like the Alzheimer's just goes by. That's what I thought was really cool. But like also like the end here, where like you see like oh like the god, like this god who we'll find out later like wants this sword back. I thought was really good. I mean,
yeah. For me, the scene where Emmet is, I mentioned it earlier, Emmet is screaming and Dina looks terrified.
mm-hmm.
That page is what initially got me. I was like, okay, Donny, I see what you're doing here. We're gonna have this Alzheimer story. I'm on board. The conversation between Roy and Janie, is just so well written. I'm a sucker for some good dialogue, and these two characters who are trying to communicate but not really succeeding, and are kind of butting heads. I don't know. I'm a sucker for dialogue, and that's really, really well written.
Yeah.
But what got me 100% on the book is definitely the page where Emmet explodes the demon, because it's just so cool.
It's so good.
So cool.
What about you?
I think I agree with Matt. What hooked me was like having a character with Alzheimer's, and like the story being like, all right, this is gonna be on this. I don't know. That's not something I'm familiar with. I think that's what got me interested. Just the fact that in media, I don't really know a lot about how people address Alzheimer's in it. So I was like, okay, let's see what goes down from here. And I never had a grandfather growing up, so I imagine my grandfather in that giant splash page if I had one. that's what I had imagined him being like. If like when I was younger, like, oh, I bet if I had a grandpa, he'd be so badass and he'd fight demons. And we go on so many adventures, and it would be so cool.
And he would have a giant sword, and he'd kill all those demons.
Word.
And he'd have a beer gut, and he'll let me ride on his back. It'll be great.
Ride on his beer gut. I sit on the beer gut.
Yeah.
God, I love how they just.
Yeah, I love that he's drawn like just as a big dude, you know?
Yeah. Like not rippling muscles.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not like he like fully transforms, like kind of like a physical change when he takes the sword. It's a mental change. So like he has like the dad bod and the beer belly. I think it's great. It's a good change when it comes to like a sort of like a Thor-ish type of like character. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And now that you've said the name, this is very, very reminiscent of Thor. I would say this is the best Thor story I've ever read. Clearly it's not actually Thor, but it feels like it could be an alternate universe Thor story.
It could be.
And wildly enough, Donny Cates is writing Thor right now. So
I hear it's really good.
After reading this, I think I have to read his Thor run. Like, I think I have to.
I just want to say, like, before we move on, that like let's talk about like Geoff Shaw's like art and like the choices that Donny wanted Geoff to make.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll pull up the last splash again just to this description, but like we can clearly see that like Kirby Crackle's a big part of like the artwork. And for people that know, Kirby Crackle essentially like, you know, like the various like dots that pattern dots that like Jack Kirby used to do when making his art to like either showcase like energy or like space, you know, all that type of cool stuff. And Jack Kirby's known for obviously like did he create Thor? Yeah, he created Thor, correct? Like just making sure it wasn't a different artist.
Yeah, well, the Norse created Thor, but Kirby created Thor, and Kirby loved Thor. Kirby adored drawing for Thor.
Yeah, but so he created Thor, of course, and when I'm reading this, when it comes to when we reveal like the whole mythos of like who these gods are, it reminds me a lot of like the New Gods, which is like a Jack Kirby creation, and Yeah, like you can basically like not only this is like it's like what Matt said, it's like it's the best Thor story like he's ever read, and I can also agree. But then it's an homage to like Jack Kirby's legacy of what he's created, and not with like when it comes to like mythos and when it comes to like his art style. And Jeff Kirby does a really good job of like incorporating the Kirby Crackle heavily and stuff, and with also invoke with his own style art. So it gives like a new. It's like if Jack Kirby was born like in like the '90s and was brewing comic book art now, this is what it would look like.
Yeah,
like,
that's the way to put it. It's really cool. It brings this like classic flair to a more modern book, and it's just the way that plays together is so cool. The art is immaculate, just throughout. The art is immaculate.
It is. Yeah. So do you want to talk about
before that
issue number?
I gotta ask, what voice did you read your narrator as?
Oh, he's an old man, an old man. He's got that Texas twang going on.
I'm thinking Sam Elliott.
Is it Sam Elliott?
Yeah, I was thinking Sam Elliott.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you said that, I think I can only read it as Sam Elliott.
No, here's the thing. I told Christian that because I thought, this isn't a spoiler, but like I thought the narrator was actually going to be revealed to be Dina, but obviously we know that's not the case. But
Me too.
so I read it as like a Southern woman saying this, but I read Emmet as Sam Elliott.
I mean that works.
It also works. Yeah. And then I added, what if they just made a live action, but Sam Elliott plays every single character?
I would watch that immediately. I would watch that 3 times in the movie theaters. I don't care how bad COVID is. I would go watch that 3 times.
Take all my goddamn money. I will pay any amount to have Sam Elliott play both a little girl and an old man god at the same time in the same scene.
Okay, just not to be too extreme, but like it could still be like different actors. Like he just voices everybody.
Yeah, no, like he's actually telling the story and he's doing the voices like someone reading a book.
Like those scenes in Ant-Man?
Yeah.
Huh?
Like those scenes in Ant-Man with Luis?
With Luis.
I'll get Sam Elliott on the horn. We'll start on this immediately.
Yeah, just call up Sam, see what he thinks.
I'll call him up.
But
he's not
Matt,
busy.
Do you want to do issue dose?
I absolutely want to do issue dose. Scott Country number 2. First of all, the cover's so cool. This might be my favorite cover.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think it might be. I think this image of Emmet against this Texas landscape is just gorgeous. I love it.
And like around this time, they were celebrating like 25 years of Image, so they were making a lot of dope variant covers for like all their titles involving like the premier Image characters, which we'll talk about probably at the end. But like, it's good stuff.
It's great. So this issue picks up immediately where the last one left off, with Dina hugging her grandfather in this real sweet moment, and then Roy introduces Janie to him, and there's this flashback where we see Roy and Janie going to Emmett's bedside after their wedding. Janie is very, very, very pregnant, and Roy's got these pictures of their ceremony, and he's showing Emmet, and he's talking to him about how great the wedding was, and it's the panel is muted. I think part of that is visual shorthand to show there's a flashback, but also makes it real somber and dark. And it's very clear that Emmett's not actually understanding what Roy is saying to him. And just that panel, man, breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It's immediately juxtaposed by 2 more really bright, vibrant panels of Emmet hugging his granddaughter and crying, and he says he remembers everything. And it's moments like this. There's some really cool big action stuff going on in this. Really cool gods and swords and demons and fighting and stuff. But it's this
It's just the small stuff.
Yeah,
That's so good.
That human shit, man.
Yeah. Also, disclaimer for the audience: I put in the description of this video. Watch some. You're about to see some grown ass men shed some tears. Just making sure that because I may cry during this podcast.
there's a distinct possibility.
Yeah,
you guys can't cry. If you cry, I cry.
Well,
And
shit.
I'll cry.
Join the line. Join the line, Christian.
God damn.
Yeah, Matt, continue. Sorry.
So Roy asks Emmett to put the sword down, and he's like, "Well, I did." And he goes, "No, you put Dina down. You're still holding the sword," which I don't entirely know what the meaning is in that scene. I kind of think I'm missing something, but
it's a metaphor for communism.
No.
That is communism.
No. It's essentially just like he is like kind of attached to the sword in a way where he thought he put it down, but in reality he just didn't. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
He is the sword, and the sword is him?
No.
What? Emmett's a god?
Emmett might be a god.
He might be a god. We'll find out.
But this god has no idea what happened to the house that he was just in, that just got exploded by a mad tornado. He does not know what happened. And Roy tells him there was a tornado. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, I'm gonna just go ahead and use my new god powers to rebuild the house. Although he makes it explicitly clear that he doesn't rebuild the house, Valifax does. So all of his power, just like all of his memories, are drawn from the sword.
Yeah.
So he rebuilds the house.
It's a dope page. I love this page a lot. Like, it's one of my favorite pages in the book.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And then after the house is rebuilt, the sword talks to him, I guess in his brain.
Yeah.
He stole from the sword. And he's like, all right, all in the house, I gotta go outside. We've got a guest. And Roy's like, you're talking to the sword now? Which, I don't know why that's a step too far. There's a magic tornado and a demon and a magic sword. But his grandfather talking to the sword is what puts him over the edge.
Like Roy, what we'll find out in another scene that like Christian will talk about in like the other two issues, Roy has a hard time believing that all this stuff is actually like, actually happening, especially since he's it's the South is majority like Christian area, so like there's still like, so it's a hard time believing this stuff.
Exactly. It is God country.
It is God country. Yeah.
So Emmett goes outside to go talk to our new friend. And our new friend, if you probably could have guessed it, is the god from the end of the last issue. He shows up. His name is Aristus. He's the god of war.
War, blood, and honor, I think, is like
war, blood, and honor. He's the firstborn son of Atum, who is Odin. Basically. He's Odin, or he's like, I guess you could say he's maybe.
Or he's like High Father.
Or he's like High Father.
Yeah.
That's probably more accurate. He's like High Father. He's like, anyway, man, I'm here. I'm going to just go ahead and take that sword and go. And Emmett puts the sword in his face and demands that he kneels. And he does. He goes, oh shit. Oh, Valifax. My bad. I didn't know you picked this dude. Okay. I'm gonna back off real quick. Because the sword, I guess, shows Emmett in the same way that Mjolnir shows Donald Blake or something, Yeah. He begs Emmett for forgiveness, and they decide they gotta go to the land of the gods, which I do not. I think he named it.
I think it's either called like the land of always or the realm of always. I think the land of always is the right word.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
So Emmett says bye to Roy. He says, "Hey, I'll be back. I promise." And then they disappear.
Yeah. Which is kind of like foreshadowing, like there are moments where like Emmet will just leave, and Roy is just like, why do you have to leave? And it's like kind of like foreshadowing the whole like thing with Emmet, with Roy's character of like letting go. That's like a huge theme in this book.
and it could also very easily be a metaphor for Alzheimer's itself. You know how Emmet comes in and out of being himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, Roy, I'll be back, and he leaves. And Dina asks Roy if her grandfather's gonna be okay, and he just tries to reassure her. And when they try to go inside, they find the door sticks. The door has always stuck before, and Dina says, "I thought Grandpa fixed the house." And Roy says he did, and Dina says, "Well, then how come it's still all broken?" Which I haven't grasped it yet. This is definitely this is more Alzheimer's shit. This is clearly more Alzheimer's.
It's because he remembers the house the way he remembers it as broken. So when he fixed it, like it's just the way he remembered it. Yeah,
exactly. Which is.
So good.
I love that. It's so good.
I'm trying not to cry. I'm trying so hard not to cry. But like, yeah, continue.
So, Emmet and Aristus. Wait, that's the name, right?
Yeah, Aristus. I said Aristus, but it's whatever.
Aristus. That sounds.
That sounds godlike, right?
Emmet and Aristus are wandering through Texas, and they had a conversation about Valifax. Basically, Valifax is every magic sword that's ever existed. It's Excalibur, and it's ones. I can't think of a single other magic sword.
But like,
neither could they.
It's not just sword. Yeah. It's like he says it's not just like magic sword. Just use Excalibur as an example. But like Valifax is literally like every blade that has ever been used, and like it like any current like blade or like any blade that's been used. So he's like in every sword in existence, any edged weapons in existence. That's Valifax.
Yes.
And like Valifax is essentially like he's a sword, but he's also a god. And yeah, it's cool shit.
So he's a butter knife and Excalibur at the same time.
Like actually, like
I guess so.
Like any blade, any type of blade, whether it's a sword, a knife, an axe, what have you, a box cutter, like it's Valifax.
Foam sword? A Nerf?
An actual sword, like an actual edge, like a real.
An axe isn't a sword. It's an axe.
No, I said a blade. A blade.
A blade.
An axe is technically a blade.
A scalpel?
Yes.
A sharp rock?
No.
So
why not?
Aristus tells Emmet about Valifax, right? And he's like, I guess Valifax came here because it had to destroy that demon that you destroyed, and it shows you as its champion. But he's like, Bud, you gotta be careful though, because if the sword disapproves of you, it will destroy you. And it's like, yeah, whatever. No big deal.
He described it as like twisting, like your insides, just like twist shit out of you, and you'll die.
Yeah, it sounds real gruesome, and or real metaphorical. I don't know. Just I don't think about it.
Late to me.
So he's like, Aristus is like, dude, you're taking this way too easily. Why are you making this so hard for you and your family? And then Emmet looks at his wife's grave, and he just smiles, and he remembers a time when they were young and they were dancing, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's really beautiful. So Emmet says, so all right, if I give you this sword back, can you fix me? Right now the sword fixes me. So I give it
as long as he holds it, his Alzheimer's is gone. Like,
right. He's like, can I give it back to you? And it's just like, well, what's wrong with you? And Emmet explains that he has Alzheimer's, and Aristus doesn't know what that is. So he tries to explain it, and this scene where Emmet explains how it feels to have Alzheimer's, how he how he's losing himself is, man. I keep saying real. I don't want to keep using the same word over and over again, but I mean it is for a scene about a man with a giant sword talking to a giant space god. It's pretty real, you know.
Yeah.
So Aristus explains that that's a curse, and that if he returns the blade, he will return to his cursed state. His Alzheimer's will come back. And so Emmet's like, all right, guess I'm not giving you the sword then. And Aristus says, okay, you know, that's your choice. Valifax chose you, whatever, but next time we meet, we're not going to be allies. And he dips. Before he goes, he's like, hey, Emmet, you have a message for my father. And then it cuts to the Kingdom of Always. That's what it's called, the Kingdom of Always. And Aristus comes and speaks to Allfather. I already forgot his name. I just said it.
Atum.
Yeah. And he explains what happened to Valifax. And he brings he delivers the message that Emmet had for him. And this final splash page is so cool. As he explains, and he delivers the message, come and take it. And Atum looks very, honestly, Atum's design is very Kirby-like. But in a lot of ways, it kind of also, especially the way he has the stars in his cloak, reminds me of Eternity, which is actually a Ditto creation. But regardless, it's oh man, it's so cool. That's so the issue too. This was I'd say a slower issue, but it might be my favorite issue in the book. It might be. I think that the character stuff in here is so good. It's really cool seeing Emmet himself wrestle with his reality, his ever shifting reality, and it's beautiful. I don't know, man. It's really good. What are your thoughts?
Very good. I really like this issue. The fact that especially that panel I put previously where it's just like Emmet just having a casual conversation with a god. It's just wild to me. It's just like the fact that it's so cool. It's a cool that, and thing is Aristus reminds me I think Aristus clearly he's supposed to be an homage to Thor, but that's how I read him as Thor. So and Aristus isn't just it isn't he's Aristus is a very mannerful god. He's very respectful. He's not gonna try to take it by force unless his father forces him to. But it's just cool stuff. Especially with realizing that he's gonna take the fight to the gods because he doesn't want to lose himself again.
Yeah.
And put his father and put his son and his family in that situation again. It's just so touching.
He would literally fight actual gods.
Yeah.
Then put his family through that, and that's I don't know.
Which is classic American right there.
It's relatable. It's relatable, but it's also in a very exaggerated way, you know.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly.
And that's something that I really dig about this book is that at the end of the day, all of it, the gods and the magic swords and the space stuff, all of it really comes back down to Alzheimer's. That's what the entire book is about. And that sort of concrete theming is just so tasty to me. This is a yummy book.
Love this adjective that you're using. Wow.
What's it called? Like this shit. It's just so good.
I really like the background art in this section of the comic. It's just so warm and feels like I'm out in the country with them.
But I also want to say, I also like love the lore, like with Valifax, and the fact that like he's not just a sword, like how like, Mjolnir is just a hammer that's imbued with abilities. Like Valifax is actually is a god and is sentient. So like, and the fact that he's every blade that's ever been made, and every future weapon in existence, that's Valifax, and it's very like, what's the word? It's like omnipresent. Like he's an omnipresent being. I think it's so cool.
He's the god of swords, basically.
He's he's literally referred to as Valifax, the god of blades, and I love that.
That's so sick.
Badass.
Fuck Mjolnir, man.
Fuck Mjolnir.
Yeah, fuck Mjolnir, man. Chris, you have anything to say about this issue?
I really like the themes. Matt, you kind of mentioned it a little bit. Where the concept with Alzheimer's, specifically for a man, in his position, he needs to be relied on because he's a father, he's a husband, and then all of a sudden, when he starts to get sick, he's a burden,
Right.
That his whole purpose in the beginning, this is just my understanding of the character, was that he's there because he's needed and to protect the household, provide for the household, and then the disease comes, boom, all of his importance is gone. So what is he now? And once he gets back with his memories and he has the ability to protect his family again with the sword, they really go ham on it. Like, this is my time to finally let all this frustration I think that he probably had having Alzheimer's and being trapped in a decaying body, to really let loose and protect my family again. And it was very, very, I just love, I think a lot of guys really love stories like this, where the main character feels needed, and the main character
No, you're right. I get it.
Yeah. Or the main character goes at nothing to protect something. Stories like that always hit home for me, and it's gonna be great. So,
you want to talk about issue 3?
Yes, issue 3. So issue 3. I really like the first page of it. It is a very warm.
Let's just talk about the cover real quick. Like, Jesus Christ,
it's a pretty cool cover.
Dope cover.
Yeah.
I not to interrupt again, but
no, it's fine.
The design for Valifax is so cool.
He's the sickest sword I've ever seen. Like,
yeah. And I kind of because like the way the blade doesn't really connect to the hilt, and there's like that orb of energy that keeps it there is incredible. The only real downside of that is that I can't get an accurate replica of this because that's not possible in real life.
Yeah.
But if I could, I would take that shit and mount it on my wall. It looks so cool.
Why are we limited? Why is our science so limited? Why can't we make this sword already?
Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the sword too. It's a fantastic design. But there's gotta be a way in order to do that. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Don't worry, Matt. I'll figure out levitation technology just for you, just so you could have this sword.
Thank you. I appreciate your dedication.
You're very welcome. Do you think that's the orb in the center? Do you think that's the juicy god nucleus center?
Yeah. I think that is the creamy nougat god center. Yeah.
Yeah.
The creamy, delectable caramel center of the sword. Right. Yeah. Well, now that we talked about the cover, first page of issue 3, we're back at the farm somewhere around the afternoon. Fireflies are coming out. I'm not sure what you guys call fireflies. Lantern bugs.
There's a whole lot of words
for it. I call them fireflies.
Well, yeah. I guess everyone in PA calls them fireflies. We see Elliot, nice and shaven up, wearing a proper shirt, enjoying time with his granddaughter. This part really just made me feel all gooey inside. Like, oh man, that's so cute. Meanwhile, having this big old honking sword relaxing on his lap. And Roy just stares off in the distance, kind of worried, kind of enjoying the image, and I think also a little bit jealous. His wife comes in with with some beers, bring up the conversation about Elliot and their daughter playing. If it's safe, especially with that.
I have to interrupt real quick about this.
Yeah.
One, his name's Emmet.
Emmet, yeah.
Emmet?
Yeah.
Did I say Elliot?
Yeah. It's Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott, right?
Yeah.
Two, you catch the New Gods poster on the wall?
No, I did not. Hold on.
What?
There's a New Gods poster on the wall.
That's sick.
Isn't that cool?
Dude.
What are we talking about?
It's like on the wall. It says New Gods is an image of
put it up. Not even if I can like angle it correctly. Like there's like dark side. Like that's so sick. I don't know if I got that, but that's awesome. I did not notice that.
That's so cool. God, this book's good. Sorry, Christian. Go ahead.
No. It's good. So where was I? Okay. So wife comes in with some beers.
Yeah.
And they start talking about this whole situation and how crazy it is, but how great at the same time it is. And Roy kind of mentions that that he never really had this kind of interaction with his father growing up. And what else? Yeah. His wife starts to come around with this whole Emmet thing, being like, you know what? Maybe he isn't a burden after all. Whoop-de-doo. Back to Emmet and the little girl. She asks if she could play with the sword, and Emmet's like, well, let's see if the sword's okay with it, because it is a sentient being and also a god. So he asks, and he goes on this whole spiel about being wielded by millions of soldiers, spilling blood of countless enemies and all this stuff. And it's getting really heavy. Emmet's like, oh man, you know, you could just say no. I mean, no need to get so dark about it. But then he changes to kind of like a protective mode to the little girl, because I think he's trying to be like, it's okay, little girl, I'll protect you, I'm a good person. It kind of freaks her out, which I thought was kind of hilarious, and she just runs back inside.
I love how Paybacks is like, I'm not used to speaking with kids, and I'm just like, no shit.
It's so good.
That's such a good little panel.
So runs back inside. Roy's bitching again about not getting enough love from his dad.
It's his fault.
Oh yeah. He was kind of wishing that. My understanding of it was kind of wishing that something would come along and kill his dad, because he didn't want to deal with the burden of taking care of his dad, and that was the reason why the monster came, because it was all his fault. And Emmet heard a little bit of this and knocks on the door to interrupt. Emmet comes in, tells the wife, what's her name? Dina.
Janie.
What?
Janie.
Janie? Then who's Dina?
The daughter.
Okay. Then who's Joy?
I said Joy before. I missed that, but it's actually Janie.
Yeah, Mikey messed up. But it's not a big deal.
See, this is why I don't use names, I just use images. So I'm just gonna describe them by the images.
All right,
so female number one leaves, an old man comes in. Yeah.
Okay.
It seems like he heard a little bit of what they said. Roy's feeling kind of awkward. And Emmet says, "You want to have a beer?" They go outside, big ass sword on the front porch. I just love that image of it being so big it doesn't even fit on the porch, so he has to stick it through the little gaps. And Roy kind of warms up to an apology and have a conversation about what he just heard. And Emmett's kind of distant about it and insists that he didn't hear anything and wants to talk about the Rangers. Roy gets upset and says, "Come on, after all these years, after being able to get your memory back, you can't even have a decent conversation with me and open up a little bit?" And his dad says, "Your mother hugged you too much." I don't know what that means.
That means, like, stop being a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Father, why?
Which is wild because, like, I don't know if Matt touched on, I think we forgot to touch on this. Like, I think it was in the first issue that was said. But, like, Roy's memories of his dad before his Alzheimer's, that, like, he wasn't a very comforting dad.
Yeah.
He was very, like, blunt and, like, direct and cold. So, you know.
Yeah.
And now, he's back and he's just as cold as he was before.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting.
It's very interesting.
As you said before, Matt, it feels very real of it.
Right. Because Emmett's not a perfect man. He has his own flaws and his own problems, and one of them is that he does not know how to communicate his feelings, and he especially does not know how to communicate with his son. Yeah. And I think that's very, very, again, I think it's very real.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said because you kind of cut out, but I'm gonna agree with it anyway.
Just believe me, I'm right.
Yeah. Okay. No, I believe you already. You didn't even need to say it. So Roy walks off, and he says, Emmet says that it wasn't your fault. The monster coming by wasn't your fault. And Roy was like, "What, did the sword tell you that?" And Emmet was like, "No, not really. It's just that wishes like that don't get granted." Jeez, I wish I wrote down notes about this because this is like a little bit important. He said he just couldn't stand the idea of not being able to take care of his wife, not being able to do things that he wanted to do, and that really frustrated him.
Yeah, a lot of it is like what you mentioned earlier about how he wanted how he like felt like he had a place and he was important, and then when the disease hit, he lost all of that and became a burden. That's a lot of what he's talking about here.
Oh yeah, okay. So he says all of that, and the zombie comes by and bites Roy's neck. Yeah. As he's getting nommed on, I really like this scene. Rather than
punches made
immediately coming in the face. Yeah, rather than Emmet immediately coming in, Roy just turns around and just socks him.
Like, get the fuck
out. I bet that's every Texan ever. I really like Roy because he's. I feel like he's a very subtle and warmer character than his father. Just mentioned like the first page was like he was the kind one, but at the same time he has his dad's willingness to fight, which is super great. Yeah. But back to the him getting his neck chopped off. Not really. You get bit. Emmet comes by, picks him up, asks if he's okay. He has no idea what the hell is happening. And the sword explains that the god of death, Balagrim, brother of Aristus, and the youngest son of Adam, Atum, has arrived and is here to take the sword. And we got to get ready to fight. And he's like, "Oh, already? Okay, I guess."
Can I put up the page? Because I love the page.
Yeah.
It's just Emmet standing down against this legion of death. Oh,
dude, it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got nothing to say about it. It's cool.
there's an Apache chief. There's a dead Apache man.
Where?
On the horse. On the horse.
On a horse?
Yeah.
Awesome. Nothing better than zombie fights in Texas.
Word.
Yep. So he takes a quick breath and he gets ready to show down. It's so cool.
And I love that, like, literally, like, Valifax is like Emmet, breathe, and never let go. And he just goes at it. I'm just like, yo!
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Roy goes back inside. They start to board up the windows and the walls because they don't want to deal with this shit.
But they're coming in.
Yeah, and Emmet just wails on them. But unfortunately, they're breaking through. Emmet talks to Valdex, asks if he could help out. Valdex says, focus on the fight. I'll take care of it. And the knives in the kitchen, the knives in the barn start to levitate. Roy is having a hard time keeping them back. And then the knives everywhere around the area just starts flying and boards up the windows for him and attacks the nearby zombies.
I love this. Like, I love that. Like, being the God of Blades is awesome.
Yeah, the God of Blades is pretty fucking badass. Kind of overpowered if you really think about it. The daughter is obviously overjoyed that she didn't die from zombies. She's kind of been very chill about this entire situation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we noticed about it. She really is just like, yeah, this is fine. Everything's cool. And then, boom, introduction. The fucking youngest brother. I already forgot his name.
Bailgrim, I believe.
Bailgrim, yeah.
Bailgrim, yep. The sword warns him that he's not an honest foe, and it will try to. Emmet doesn't even listen to the end of that sentence and jumps in for the fight. Turns out it was a trap. Bailgrim disappears. Emmet's in the middle of the horde, and then he hears a scream in his house, and he goes running towards the house. I think he busts through or makes a wormhole through.
Yeah, fucking Valifax can like create portals.
Yeah, he makes a portal through it, and then he sees his son and his wife on the ground crying, and asks, "What happened?" And Roy says they took Dina. Emmet says, "Where?" The sword warns him that you're not going to like the answer to this. Kingdom of the Underworld, Bane of War is not something. And then he interrupts again. Where is she? And then they go to hell. End splash page and end of issue 3. Thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Fucking epic, dude.
So cool. This is yeah, it's so epic. That's the only way to explain it. It is epic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently, so I have not read anything else by Donny Cates before this. I own Silver Surfer Black, and I read the first issue of it, but I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah.
My understanding is that he writes a lot of really grandiose, epic stories.
Yeah.
And based off of God Country, he does it real well.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah. Silver Surfer Black is one of my favorite things he's done. I love Silver Surfer Black a lot. It's really fucking good. But
I still gotta read it. I had it literally in my bed for like 2 weeks. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, but this is dope. This is epic. I love seeing all the just Valifax just like being Valifax and seeing all the stuff he could do. Like my favorite scene with controlling the knives, I love that because
it's so cool.
Reiterating that like any blade he could control is him, and I love that.
Right, it really proves that he's not just a sword; he is the god of blades.
Yeah, like, and yeah, we already talked about like the stuff between like Emmet and Roy, like their relationship, like Emmet, like basically like Emmet still being an asshole to Roy, like because even though that he has all his memories back, yeah, it's just epic. Like the stuff with Bill Grimm, aka like aka Loki, is really dope. I didn't put his design in yet, but I have that saved for the next issue that we're gonna talk about. Yeah, just epic, just good stuff, dude. Oh my god, yeah. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Issue 3.
Cool.
Yeah.
Issue
So
4.
you want to talk about issue 4?
You ready to go?
Yep.
Mikey, you run out of languages?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Oh, July 4. There we go.
So issue 4. Did we already talk about the cover? There we go.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I think this cover is really cool because I love how his hand is coming apart as he loses the sword, just like how his mind would come apart if he lost the sword.
You really
know.
on that symbolism stuff, man.
Maybe it's a metaphor, y'all. Maybe there's some symbolism. I think there might be a little bit of symbolism in this book, guys.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm just wondering how deep you're gonna get into it. Like, oh, Emmet, he lost his left finger, and the left side of the brain is the functional part of the brain, and that's usually where the area where Alzheimer's attacks the most.
Dude, I live for this English class shit. I love it. I know people are like, sometimes it's out the blue door or whatever, but I love this shit.
What do the raisins mean? What do they mean? Do they dry up? Like, what do they wither away? I don't know. It's raisins in the sun reference. Anywho, Emmet's in hell. I really love this scene. I love the energy that's being wafted off from the sword. Kind of looks like a lightsaber now that I really look at it.
It does.
Yeah, and yeah, they're in hell. Paybacks explains that this hell is in regions similar to Texas, and this is the hell underneath Texas.
Yeah.
And Emmett's just like, I don't care. Show me where my granddaughter is. And the sword's like, all right, fair enough. And points to this decrepit-looking church. Emmet asks, how do you know that it's there? And the sword replies, it's the only thing there. So let's go with that. Emmet's like, all right, fair enough. We're going to go fight, and we're going to go take down this monster.
I think there's something very interesting about a church being in hell. There's something there. Anyway, go ahead.
Does the church represent the mind and hell the body?
I don't know what it represents, man.
It's not that big.
Alzheimer's?
Not that deep.
I don't know, man.
No. This was not about Alzheimer's. This was about religion.
Oh my
Next.
Whoa. Anyway, no, yeah, I think you're totally right about the symbolism with being religion. Emmet runs the church back to Texas. Roy's holding his wife, trying to comfort her, and he's starting to pray. And the wife's like, "Are you serious? What are you doing right now?" And Roy's like, "I'm praying." And she's like, "Why?" Which is a valid point.
Yeah.
Roy says, "Jane, we're both upset. I didn't think having some faith would hurt anything." And then Jane's like, are you fucking kidding me? What makes you think Jesus is real when the actual gods are outside?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we ask them not to kill us? Am I wrong? Come on. Yeah. One of them raised the dead. The other one is your grandpa. And then the third one is fucking Thor. Who had room for fucking Jesus?
Oh my god.
And they've got a fucking talking sword. And we're like, all right, calm the fuck down. Jane.
Again, like being from the South, religious, like it's not connecting with him, but like, he's not accepting what's happening, but it's like, but Jesus, no, fuck Jesus.
Yeah. She's trying to get Roy out of this whole thing. I guess have him believe that what's happening right now is actually happening. The zombies crash through the doors, and of course, it being in Texas, they need to figure out where the guns are.
Yeah,
and
go get the guns.
Yep, they go on, rally up, and get the guns. Back in hell, the sword, Valfax asks Emmet, get you start to take a moment to steel yourself and get ready for this fight. Balagrim is likely going to likely be a trap, and he really does not care at all and kicks the door down. And then we see Balagrim sitting in this gross looking throne, holding the child in his lap, and the child's passed out.
Such a good design. I love his design a lot.
Yeah, and like he has her hair in his hand, and it's real creepy. It's good. It's good, guys. This is good.
Yeah, it's good.
This is a pretty good comic book, you guys. It is kind of creepy though.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me uncomfortable. This whole the child being on a grown man's lap generally makes me uncomfortable, especially when it's not your child. But we could get into that after.
You don't have to.
Yeah, we really don't have to. But let's get back to the comic. He is absolutely pissed. And he says, "We don't have to fight. You could just give it back, and I will choose not to kill you." And oh god, what the fuck is this name's guy? Bala something, whatever.
Pilgrim.
Yeah. Pilgrim goes on this whole spiel about how he needs that sword, how it's going to be so inconvenient for you, and it'll just give the child back if you just hand that sword over, and everyone keeps on living. Emmet says, "I'm not leaving here without my granddaughter and the sword." And then, cocky as usual, Belgrim is just saying, "Yeah, that's not going to happen. How can you be so selfish, just sacrificing your family like this? Or you just should give me the sword, or I'm going to kill everyone." And the sword, Valifax says to Emmet, "Whatever you do, don't look." And Emmet's like, "What?" Belgrim says, "Dear," boom. Emmet's dead wife appears from behind him, and he is shocked. Elizabeth is, quote unquote, alive. And he asks his sword, "Is this real?" And he doesn't give a clear answer, which is kind of interesting. Valifax says it doesn't matter, just look away. And I'm starting to think that might have been actually his wife.
It is his wife. It's actually like the soul of his wife.
Cool. There, Emmet drops the sword and kneels down with her and gives him a hug. He says, "I missed you so much. Oh my God, I love you, blah, blah, blah." Belgrim stands up and goes to the sword, and it looks like he already won. He picks up the sword, lifts it in the air, and gets all cocky, and it's like, "Man, I remember you being bigger." And then the sword turns red, and it says, "My power is a gift. One I find greatly unworthy of receiving Belgrim." Yeah. And then he's in absolute pain now.
Yeah, he twists him like how he said you.
Yep. Back in Texas, good old Texan land, we got Roy and wife shooting up these zombies, and they're out of bullets. And they look at each other, and they're wondering what they're gonna do. And in the meantime, the sword's talking and defeats Pilgrim and releases them, and unfortunately kills Elizabeth, Emmet's wife, in the process of killing all the zombies.
Yeah.
Man,
that page.
This scene hit a lot. I was like, wow.
Yeah. It was big sad all around.
Because like, which we'll talk about like the next page, but like the fact that like not only did he just get his memories back like recently, but like obviously like with his having his memories back, like he knew his wife passed away, but now having to see her die twice. It's damn, like it's wow.
Yeah. After the scene, he clenches his fists and he turns to Belgrim's twisted up corpse and he just says, you took her. And then Belgrim just on the ground, eyes sunken into his skull, looks back at him, just says, please. And just Emmet wails on him, just cracks his face, blood spewing everywhere, and he's just screaming. And yeah.
He just tears him apart with his fists. And it's so gruesome.
Think about this real quick. A mere mortal killed a god with his bare hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal.
The sword did most of the work, but you know what? We're not going to talk about Emmet just fucking stole a kill, but that's fine. I after this, the next page, I really liked the image of Emmet on his knees with his hands filled with blood looking up in the air, because it felt like a Renaissance painting, like in like a religious time period, you know? It felt, yeah.
There's a lot in this issue, especially going on around religion and faith, and I think that's part of it.
After that, Emmet picks his granddaughter up, brings him back home, brings him to the kids, brings it to his son, and they're all happy, big old happy family again. And Roy turns around, sees that Emmet disappeared. He teleported to the tree where Elizabeth was buried, and he I know you can hear me. Oh, okay. Yeah. And then here he challenges the god finally to a fight because he is absolutely pissed. And then
he says, let's finish this.
Yeah, he said, let's finish this. And then a huge storm comes in with thunder and lightning, and we have the fight to look forward to in the next issue.
Yeah. It's like the tornado from the first issue, but it's red instead of green.
Yeah.
Ooh. Do you think the red is symbolic for?
Yeah. No, the green is go and the red is stop. Yeah, exactly.
You know, Michael. I was going to try and say that, but I don't know. I literally don't know. So
no, say it. I actually like your analysis for the symbolism.
But no, I literally don't know what it. I don't know what it means.
I don't know what it means either. But it's.
You don't know what it means either. It represents menstruation. Something.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, thoughts on issue 4, man. People's fuck, man. This book is so good.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just really good. That's all I've got, honestly. Everything with Elizabeth is just heartbreaking. I think Roy talking to Jane about faith was a very good, a really strong conversation. Every conversation those two have together is just
very well written.
It's so well written.
I'm gonna look up synonyms for the word real for you, Matt, so you don't feel so bad using it all the time.
Yeah, dude, the stuff with his like Bill Grimm, I love his design a lot. It's such a cool design of a Lucifer, devil type of character. I think it's so fucking cool. And the stuff with Elizabeth, dude, I actually was like, wow. That's just a lot.
Mikey, before we move on, throw a comment up on the screen.
Yeah, I think it's Sarah saying, I think I know you guys. Well, you better damn well know that you know our shit.
Weren't you the girl in that song from that band? Yeah.
I don't get that joke.
Aren't you the girl that had those 3 dudes say your name, yell your name, and that one guy would go I at the end? I don't know.
Nah, that's not right.
That's not right.
Do you think now we're at a point where there's a song for every girl name?
Probably.
No,
I know for a fact. No?
I don't think so.
No? Why
You
not?
find me a song for Greta.
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, but issue 4, good stuff, dude. God, these next 2 issues are I have to explain them, and I'm gonna like try to get choked up while I'm explaining them because they're so good.
Yeah.
But yeah. Any more final thoughts on issue 4, guys?
I think that might be.
All right, that might be it.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, cool. So we're gonna start off with issue 5. Issue 5. Doing my français. Yeah, but I love the fuck out of this. This is a fucking sick cover, dude. Oh my god.
It is.
It's so big. What would you even do if you saw that in real life?
I'd run the other way, not be like Emmet and fight it.
I'd square up.
I think my brain would break. I think I'd just fall to my knees and I might have a seizure. I don't know. I don't know how I'd handle that.
Oh, dude. Do you think that's symbolic for like Alzheimer's?
No.
And like you'll never know.
do.
Like the big bad when it's coming. Like the land is your brain and the hammer is Alzheimer's.
Well, I think you're pushing it a little bit, but yes.
Awesome.
Well, nah. But yeah, this issue starts off with essentially the origin story of how Valifax was created, and essentially a tomb created Valifax like from the heart of like a dying realm. Essentially, I think which is a nod of like Mjolnir being forged like from the heart of a dying star by Odin, and essentially like saying that like and I love the narration with the narrator saying like the god of kings essentially like he wanted to create something that would be passed down to his future children, you know, to keep the line going. And he was really looked up to by everyone from in the Kingdom of Always. But Valifax was essentially like his legacy, one conceived in death because Valifax was used in various battles that a tomb was a part of. But I love how like the twist is not knowingly by the people of the Kingdom of Always, but like Valifax was at his side, like brought hundreds of realms to its knees, and essentially knowing the thing is like the Valifax was forged by heart of a dying realm, but a tomb took that heart by force, he took the heart of he murdered that realm for his own agenda, which was to create Valifax. And you have this page here where like it's essentially like a tomb and his children like eventually like surrounded by bodies, and it's just like some wild stuff. And essentially like but like thing is like there's like here's the problem with being a god. Like a tomb's worst enemy is time. He's going to eventually die because all things do die, whether you're a god or a mortal. But not only that, a tomb himself, but the Kingdom of Always will eventually cease to exist the moment a tomb dies as well. And he is essentially like he decided to pull the Kingdom of Always together, decided to like basically like imbue his own energy. So like he's using his own life force energy to keep the Kingdom of Always standing, to keep that legacy going, and which is a bit, which I think is awesome. Is a very good symmetry with a tomb and Emmet. Time is their worst enemy. They're both dealing with time being old, essentially old men, and it's very. I love that contrast. And
yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I can personally really relate to that.
Yeah,
being old.
Word.
But you're forgetting you're 45 and a half.
But essentially it transitions after this whole monologue, it transitions to the Kingdom War, where essentially the tomb's like, okay, this dude just killed Belgrim. Belgrim failed. Now it's up to you, Aristus, to go retrieve my sword for me. Be a good son, dear. Is why I birthed you for. Have fun. And essentially just like, listen, like, here's the thing, like, Father, I'm angry just as you are that Pilgrim's dead, but like, listen, like, do we really need the sword? Like, how come we can't just let Emmet have it? He's doing this just because he wants to, like, remember he's doing this for his family, to remember his family. Program with his hubris, I'm sorry, a human being with his hubris being like, nah, fam, I just want my fucking sword. Like, that's all that matters to me. I don't care if I have to have to sacrifice as many children as I need to. Valifax belongs to me. It needs to be by my side, which is very interesting. And it's like, listen, he's like, son, stop your crying. Take this chest, and he's like, basically like, it's like, stop your bullheaded muttering, like, show him who you are. And it's just like this panel of just opening this chest, and it's like, holy fucking grail. And then it transitions back to to Texas now, where we see what was in that tornado, and it's Aristus and Emmet about having the standoff. And I love this page, dude. It's just like it's like it's really
huge fuck off hammer.
Dude, yeah, it's like huge. Aristus with his battle armor and a big ass hammer. Emmet just being a short ass dude, a small mortal with holding Valifax, and this like storm brewing. And like you've seen throughout this whole fight, where like they're creating a storm through this fight. Like they're wrecking Texas.
Yeah.
Like and it's so dope. But anyway, like they're having the standoff. Basically, Aristus like, I don't want to do this. Like, we don't have to fight each other. This just end by giving me the sword. And literally, like, being Emmet is like, listen, like, he'll certainly try to take it. And it's just like, dude, Emmet has fucking balls, dude. He's just being bold as shit. And it's like, Emmet's like, please, I need this sword. Think of your family. And he's like, I am thinking of my family with this sword. And then essentially just like, then the fight just starts, and like the narrator saying, like, folks, it's like, listen, like, when this fight was happening, folks from throughout Texas, like, folks always talk about this major storm happening, but like the people who do know about this story realize that, like, no, it was Emmet fighting Aristus, and like they were like, it's so dope. And it's like, and I love this one line where it's like basically just like, I'm gonna read from the book. It says like, folks from far away as Amarillo, Corpus Springs, Sulphur Springs, Corpus Christi could talk about this day, and essentially how the ground swelled and broke like ocean waves with every blow of Aristus's magic hammer. And this is my favorite line, is like, or the way the air smelled like it was on fire when Emmet Quinlan swung Valifax through the wind and rain and chopped through the wind and the rain and chopped a goddamn lightning bolt clear in two.
Yeah,
dude, it's like, it's so epic. Like, goddamn. And then you just have this dope page of like this explosion of just like Emmet, like the aftershock of Emmet clashing Aristus' hammer with Valifax, and then literally like, and then like the smoke clears after the explosion, and it's like, and listen, like Aristus is like, come on, Emmet, like, dude, like, we can stop this, like, this is not gonna end, like, like, he's like, obviously, like, stay down, man, like, no mortal could withstand and then he sees like, and like, basically like a scene, he's having a oh shit moment, but it's in like the King of Always language, and like the narrative is like, the curse came out as if out of Aristus' mouth in a language that isn't translatable by like terrestrial translations, but it was clearly holy shit. And we get this fucking page of this Emmet being like, just let's go, like, he's just fucking ready, like he's obviously like not backing down. And
I love this page,
dude, it's so dope. And it's the same what we said earlier, like, it's just like he has a fucking dad belly,
This is also an image I'd imagine my grandpa looking like if I had a grandpa.
Word.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then like literally like Emmet's just like, come on, and it's just so epic. And essentially like they repeat to have this fight, like, like they're just about to fucking square up, and like fucking Aristus summons his hammer, like he does, like basically has a Mjolnir moment. They're about to clash, and then it gets the perspective of Charlie. I'm sorry, not Charlie. Roy and his family, and there's just like basically like it's a storm's happening while they're fighting. Like the whole house is getting, the windows are blowing apart, and like some of the houses are getting wrecked, and essentially like Jane decides to, like, you know, take the daughter to safety, and runs away from tries to go to the nearest car and tries to drive away, and Haley,
Billiam.
And, you know, while they're trying to leave, a car destroys their car, like falls to the side. And essentially it's like, okay, we can't take that route. Holy shit, like, and but then it's revealed that like it was actually Aristus like being thrown back by from a blow from Emmet. And he's like, okay, yeah, mortals stand back, like this is about to get fucking real. And then literally like Emmett's like, just all you hear is just like from a distance, get away from them. And then you see Roy like, Dad? And then we just see a panel of just, dude, like just fucking Emmet holding both, or is it a hammer and Valifax? It's some good shit. And it's just like, literally like, Marissa's begging for his life, being like, Emmet, please, like, stop. And it's just like, you can't do this. He's like, and Emmett's like being, you can tell that like all this power is consuming him. And he's just like, this is mine. He's like, you hear me? You can't take this away from me. And like, Dad, stop. Like, and like, he's just trying to plead to his dad, like, come back to his senses. And then like, Emmett's about to fucking chop Orissa's head off with Valifax. And then Roy's just trying to get from like, Dad, like, stop. And all you just hear is Grandpa. And then he just snaps out of it, and it's like you know, just the fact that like his granddaughter's watching him about to like consume with power and about to like go ham on his god, where like essentially he's like, holy crap, wait, what am I doing? He snaps out of it, drops the hammer, and essentially is like, okay, he's like, you know, I'm still not giving you back the sword, right? He's like,
he still got Valifax. He does have Valifax, yeah.
He does have Valifax. Yeah.
You know what's cool?
And he's like, you know what? He's like, Dad. He's like, why aren't you giving back the sword? Look at what's happening right now. You are literally like losing yourself while the moment you're hoarding the sword. You literally will have destroyed most of Texas by now. Like, come on now. Like, you're scaring the shit out of my family. Look at what you're doing now.
It might be a little bigger.
And then he's like, yeah. He's like, your family. He's like, okay. Emmet. He's like, I understand, but like, you know, I can't go back home because my dad put a fucking travel ban on the Kingdom of Always, and so I need this sword, bruh. And he's just like, okay, you know what? He's like, Valifax, you in there, buddy? He's like, yeah, man, I'm listening. He's like, I need you to do something for me. And you do something for me. And he's like, I know what you seek. He's like, listen, like, if we do this, it's gonna be very like treacherous. And it's like, are you ready to take that risk? And like, I am. It's like, lead the way. Emmett's about to summons a portal. He's like, listen, I'll see you soon. He's like, I'm sorry, son. It's like, but I have to try, you know. Mm-hmm. And he teleports, and then he ends up. And I love the splash page. He ends up, you know, he's saying like, this is it, man. To Valifax. He's like, indeed. And it's like, listen, Valifax is like, you know, welcome home. And he told me the Kingdom to confront him. And that's how that ends.
Yeah, and that last page is so cool. It's gorgeous.
Dude. So yeah, any thoughts on issue 5?
I mean, you went through it basically line by line. It's really good.
Because I couldn't help but not to. Like, you know? Dude.
Yo, 100%. This is the 5th issue. And that guy has Valifax. He's got it. It's a sword, and he also had a hammer at some point.
Prove it.
These have been Lee thoughts.
Exactly. Thanks, Lee. Yeah, but it's dope stuff, dude.
It's awesome, man.
Dude, do you have anything to say about issue 5?
Do you want a synonym for the word real?
Yeah, sure.
Physical, tangible, concrete,
palpable,
okay.
Corporeal, material, actual, existent, factual,
extant,
historical.
But
You
anyway,
want the adverbs? Very extremely.
But yeah, this is good stuff, dude. Like I'm like just to see like Emmet's gonna take the fight to the gods like directly in their home turf. It's gonna be some good stuff, dude.
It sure is.
Dude, some good shit.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the last issue, guys. Issue 6. We did it.
I'm so excited, and we didn't cry. Right?
But where do you go from that point, Mikey?
I don't know.
We destroyed all of Texas. Where do you go from there?
I don't know. Honestly, because some dope shit has happened already, and I don't know what's gonna happen from here. Also, disclaimer again: if I get choked up throughout this whole thing, I'm sorry, because this is gonna hit.
I want to see some tears.
Oh God. Okay. But yeah, so essentially, this takes it transitions to we're getting the narrative from Arissa's perspective, being essentially just like essentially like talking about his father, Atum, and how essentially he's tried there's these beings called the Vishul, which are those fish things that we show in the last panel, the last page of that show, where they love to feast on God energy, and essentially they started a swarm of them started like feasting on the King of Always, and Atum has been using his energy, his life force, not only to keep the world together, but to keep those creatures back. And essentially, Emmet Quinlan is, he's a bad motherfucker. Essentially, he's a bold dude. Being like I even though he thwarted me, I respect the fact that he is gonna do whatever it takes to not only save his family, but to remember his family. And the thing is that's not what. And things like growing up with Atum, he didn't really show much compassion. That family, that all that mattered. He just cared about his power, and and it's just and it basically transitions to while this is happening, he is talking to Dina, Roy, and Jane, having a sentimental moment with them, and I think it's very sweet.
It's so sweet. I love this little scene where he sits down and talks to Janie and Dina, and he keeps calling her wife of Roy, and she's like, just call me Janie, man. It's this conversation. That's ultimately what I've already said it. That's what I love about this book are these conversations, these smaller moments. The big stuff is incredible and it's gorgeously drawn and it's epic as hell. But these little things, this is what I'm here for.
Yeah, that one specific point. It goes from threatening protagonist to sympathetic protagonist to just a guy on the porch talking to a child and his mother and her mother.
Yeah,
they're just great. They're so cute. He's just a regular nice guy.
He honestly might be my favorite character, Aristas. I love him so much.
Word, he's dope. But but he is essentially having this heart to heart with the folks. I should have put this picture earlier, but yeah, it's so good. But anyway, it transitions back to Emmet on the King of Always, and essentially you hear this monologue from Atum, really you're really Emmet Quinlan, you're from I love this from they all say from the realm of Texas, which I think is so fucking funny. But anyway, he's like, listen, bro, really, bro, are you crazy? Just give me the sword. And he's like, no, sir, I'm not giving you my sword. And we get this dope page of Atum just Emmet just stepping up to Atum, and it seems and literally it's he's basically just giving threats to Emmet, listen, I'll kill you, bro, just end it here while you still can, while you still have your life. But Emmet, still determined. He's he doesn't want to give the sword up. And then they essentially start the fight. And I love this page at the bottom where we see the full power of Atum, Emmet might be outmatched here. And yeah, but meanwhile, transitions back to Arista, essentially Arissa's still talking. I didn't really catch this page a lot because I just skipped over it because I'm just I don't know what's happening here. But he's talking to Roy, and essentially it says that my father, He's like if he doesn't get Valifax, it's gonna be a huge problem. Like he'll 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 do it nothing to like get Valifax. And I think he mentions that like you can see the sky change in Texas, and I think that that how he knows that the fight's taking place, like that, like but because like Batum's power can be seen like throughout like space. I'm assuming because like the sky changes, and I think he makes acknowledgement of that. But essentially, we cuts back to the fight, and it's just this dope page, just like Emmet holding his own to Attune, and essentially like he just blasted with energy, and then Attune stops like, okay, let's just talk for a bit, Emmet, like come on now. And he's like, listen, he's like, he's like, and Emmett's like, because he's a little weak, he's like, please, like, oh, so you have manners now. And he's like, listen, fam, like, I assure you, is like, I can't take Valifax from you because Valifax needs to be chosen. Like Valifax chooses its wielder, but like I'm gonna is like listen, like what is it you want? Like let's talk about it. And it's like fine, like listen. He's like I never cared about. He's like I never cared about having the goddamn sword. I just don't want to lose being myself again. I just like I just the fact that like I can remember my family, I can remember my wife. I'm not losing myself anymore, and it's just like that's the only reason why I want Valifax because I just like I just want to be able to remember my family and be with my family again. I don't want to be a burden. And then it's like really, it's like that's it's like there's like really like that's actually it. Like that's why. Like come on now. And it's like and then you see Valfax be like Emmet move, and he's like what? And then Valfax just like impales Emmet, and it's just like this man's like being skewered, and it's just like damn son. And he's like you're nothing. He's like your family's nothing. Like literally like I'm a fucking god. You think I care about your damn family? Like come on now. It's like listen, the moment I take the sword away from you, I will destroy the earth, including your precious family. I don't care. And it's just like, and it's like, let it go, bro. Just let the sword go. And then Emmet lets it go. And he throws it to Valifax straight at Attune. And literally it's like Attune's like, yeah, my sword. And then it gets revealed that like, he just Attune gets killed, gets his throat slashed and is dying. Because the narrator explains it like, yo, Valifax in the end of the day was created to kill people with evil intent, and I think this is a loophole. And then the creator of Valifax is no exception to this. And yeah, but then literally like Emmet just falls to the ground while while Attune's dying because he's really injured. But then Valifax returns to him and is like, oh yeah, you came back. And he's like, yeah, Emmet, I did because he's saying, well, like, you're the most worthy person to wield me, And it's just wild. And then like as the King of Always just starts to break, the king as Attune starts to die, the King of Always starts to tear apart. Then it transitions back to Emmet and Roy. I'm sorry, Roy, Aristus, and the family. And Aristus, sensing that his father is dying and that the barrier is breaking, they have to go. He's going back, and Roy, being the loving son, is going to go join his father to help him out. And then essentially just like listen, like he's telling his wife James, no, I don't want to leave you guys, but I just have to, And it's like, like I wish I could say, and like Janie's like, listen, I understand, go be with your father. And then essentially is like, don't tell Dina. Dina asked where I am. Just tell him like, I went off somewhere, and that I'm coming back. And him and Eris just go to the portal, and they end up in the world, in the King of Always. Attune is still fighting. The fact that Emmet is still fighting Attune while he got impaled is bullshit. It's just epic. He's having this last stand with Attune, and essentially like Ursus and Rene's like, father, no, don't do it. And then we get this when Attune breaks up the fight, Ursus breaks up the fight with Attune, we get this moment where essentially Roy goes up to his father. He's his father clearly on his last legs, and as we said before, he's not good with his words. Or we know that he had difficult communication with his son, Emmett. So he decides, like, while he's laying there, while Emmett's holding his father, he decides that Emmett wants him to Halifax, Roy. And then basically, like, the narration that's him giving him a gift. His last gift was his son, and we get this amazing splash of essentially, instead of using his words, he decides to just showcase every memory that Roy had with Emmett, and it's so good. And it's just like, from the time he was born to the time every activity he did with him as a kid, to seeing his wedding with him marrying Jane, and stuff with his mother, and it's just like, it's so good. And essentially, like, while this influx of memories are going towards him, like, Emmett dies, and it's just, and literally, like, you just see Roy coddle Emmett, and it's just like, just saying, from a father to a son, to saying, "Thank you, Dad," and it's just so good. Oh my god. And sorry guys, I'm just so good. And then we just see a tomb kill Aristus, and then Aristus starts to die, and then Aristus' tomb goes towards Roy, and it's like, gives him all, like, "I'm Aristus, I'm the god of all gods, blah blah blah. It's my sword, I am Halifax, whatever." Roy says, "I don't care," and then teleports, and then says no. Everyone Aristus, another team's like no, and then essentially the Kingdom of Always is destroyed. It's done. The tomb dies. Everything's gone. And then we get this solemn moment, and here's the page of Roy holding his dad, and we get this solemn moment. Roy's holding Halifax. Their nearest son. He's essentially holding a piece of the Kingdom of Always where his dad is resting on, being dead. And then basically, like, he decides to give his dad a proper burial, and decides to throws his dad into a sun, essentially letting him go. And yeah, it's just so touching. And after that, he lays his dad to rest, as a god should. In a way, he gives him that a godly burial. It transitions him returns back to Texas, and essentially he's like, he sees Dina and Janie, and she's basically like, Dina's asking, "Hey, where's Grandpa? Did he win?" And he's like, "Yeah, he did. He did, outlaw." And that's just like, then how come he's not here? And then he says, like, I'll explain that later. And essentially we get that monologue from the narrator, where essentially, like, and Grandma D, which revealed that, like, Grandma D told her children this story, and then her children told their children, and then their children told other people the story of Emmet Quinlan and the Quinlan family in this moment. And essentially, like, they essentially moved on. And the thing is, like, when they put they moved on, and essentially this became a story, and inevitably, like, inevitably, in a way, when we all die, we inevitably become stories ourselves, and then God Country ends. And yeah,
there's this great moment that you kind of skimmed over.
Oh, did I?
Where he throws away Halifax.
Yeah, he
and
does.
The narrator's like, they never saw Halifax again. But that's okay, because this never really was a story about a magic sword.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that line is really good, because it's not a story about a magic sword, is it? It's a story about Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's more. That's a little on the nose. But I mean, Look, it's really good, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So good, man.
It's a real bittersweet ending,
mm-hmm.
and it hits you right in your heart,
right there,
right in your feely organs,
right in your daddy issues.
Right in my daddy. No, not my daddy issues. No, I'm sensitive there.
Yeah, but this is just, God Country is really good, beginning to end, all 6 issues. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was such a fun ride.
Yeah,
I felt good after reading it. Not
yeah,
good,
man.
but
Just
I
the
felt
fact
something.
that it's just essentially, just both a father and son, just like dealing with hardship involving like Alzheimer's, and literally like the son has to let the dad. It's really the story of not only just like the gods and the fantasy stuff, but just like Roy having to let go of Emmet, and it's just like, and how difficult letting go can be.
Yeah.
And it's so good, man. I'm sorry.
And it's also about Emmet letting go of himself and his family.
Yeah.
And his wife.
Like knowing that it's his time,
Yep.
And yeah, it's so good, man. And the thing is, like, Donny Cates dedicated this to his father. So I'm wondering, like, I mean, I could assume that, like, he maybe this dad maybe did something from Alzheimer's and this happened to him. You know, if so, if that's the case, man, Donny Cates, God bless you for dealing with that and like writing the story, because man, it's touching stuff, dude. I can't. This is by far one of my favorite indie books. One of my favorite indie books I've read. Like,
it's beautiful.
So
it's a beautiful story.
it's a beautiful story. And yeah, ugh.
And yeah, I think I speak for all of us when I say that I cannot recommend this book enough.
Yeah, it's a 10, if not a 12 or a 20 out of 10.
Yeah, it's good. This is just good comics.
Yeah, just a good classic, quick story. Yeah, no build up, no fluff, just from A to B. If you really want to just take some time and you're in a mood for a little bit of sad, but kind of a good story, definitely go for God Country.
I think so.
Yeah. So closing thoughts would have been a whole lot easier if the Allfather was just like, all right, yeah, keep the sword for like 20 years because you're gonna die of old age anyway. Like, I don't really care. If he wasn't such a dick. But then again, we wouldn't have this amazing story now, would we?
Not really.
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna close it out because like I have somewhere to be. But yeah, man, this book is fantastic. Him and Geoff Shaw are doing a book right now called Crossover, which I hear is gonna be awesome.
Apparently.
So yeah, it's just good stuff. The story is fantastic. It's just beautiful. Damn, it's just so good.
All right, Mikey, take us home.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that was God Country. Expect more. We're gonna be doing more one and done stories like this, just single episodes, just discussing more great independent comic books like this one. Yeah, man, it's just good stuff. And I'm just gonna say this real quick. Yeah, like, this is a huge nod to like Jack Kirby and like all of his work and his legacy as well. From mostly like the art and like the art style. It's good stuff. I own the physical copy, and there's a lot of like good behind the scenes stuff like at the back of like the inspiration, like all that cool stuff, and like the variant covers. The variant covers are sick. I like, bro, good stuff. Like some concept art, like the characters. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yep.
It's good. Yeah. So Christian, want to do like the outro real quick?
Sure. So in this coronavirus times, everyone, you should remember, always clean your boots, put away your saddles, keep your gun strapped to your side, make sure you got your 10-gallon hat, and love America, even though it's a little bit racist, but you know what? It's America.
And to quote my favorite YouTuber, Blur Without Fear, wash your damn hands. We'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.
Get home safe.
Get home safe.